So, which one of these two website headlines is more appealing? Powerful automation tools to streamline your operations, or your best people weren't hired to chase approvals and update spreadsheets. What about these email openers? Hi, Sarah. I wanted to reach out because I think our platform could be a great fit for your team. Or, hi, Sarah. What would your team do with 10 hours back a week? The second one of these is both more compelling, and there's a very simple reason for it. They were inspired by the brand's why. This video will cover what the why the why is important, where the why shows up, and how you can find yours. So let's get started. The why is your declaration, sometimes just internal, of why your work matters, why you care, and why anyone else should as well. It's the change that you want to affect in the world, whether that's the greater world or maybe just the world of your customers. You may be asking, well, we have a mission and a vision statement. Why aren't those good enough? Well, they probably aren't because the question remains, are you using them? Can your colleagues recite them? Can you? And if they're not being used, they're just a bunch of words that are collecting dust on a virtual shelf. About 18 months ago or so, I wrote a blog post that said mission and vision statements are a waste of time. And my point then and my point now is that unless they're being used, they're of no use to you whatsoever. You can find the full blog post on our website, and a link would be in the comments. So, why does the why matter? Well, in 2009, a guy by the name of Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start with Why. And in it, he posits that the most successful businesses, the most successful leaders are those who start from a position of why what they do is important, not actually focusing on what they do, what they produce, what they deliver. He backs that up with a number of posts, and I'll share two of my favorite right now. I don't want to share them all because, hey, you should buy his book. One, the difference between inspiration and manipulation. He suggests there's only two ways to influence people's behavior, and that's either to inspire them or to manipulate them. If you manipulate them, it goes right to a commodity like transaction. It's all about price or it's all about convenience. But if you inspire your customers, if you inspire them, they will go out of their way to work with you. They'll pay more to work with you, and they'll be more patient with you throughout the entire process. And we all know that it is much easier to build long-term profitable relationships with the same client over and over, as opposed to finding new ones all the time. Second, a clear why can be a major competitive differentiation. That's something that nobody else can claim. If you have an authentic and a compelling reason for why your work matters, for why you do what you do is important, that's not anything that people can easily copy. And this goes for talent management too. So, say you are trying to recruit a new star player. If you have a compelling reason why working there, working with you is better than working with a competitor, guess where they're going to go? They're going to go with you. Those are two from Simon's book that I like, but here are some of my very own. One, it helps you stay focused. In fact, at my agency, we have changed the name of a brand house to the Focus and Messaging Framework because we found that many of our clients are using what, in essence, is a brand house to help them stay focused, to help them make decisions on what is aligned with their greater purpose and what's not. One client told me that it gave her permission to say no. So the why statement can influence everything about your brand house or your messaging framework and help you stay focused. For example, if your why is to help your clients work more efficiently, rolling out a line of clothing is probably not a good idea. Now, granted, that is a ridiculous example, but I think you get where I'm going here. Number two, it puts you as the founder or leader or you as a team into the message. It makes it more than just about the features and benefits and the details. It gives it a human connection. It gives it a soul. And that is so important now, especially as we become more and more skeptical about what is real and what is AI. So your why statement can get you part of the message and make it more human. Third, the right why statements can infuse your company culture with an exciting energy that drives teamwork, that drives innovation, that drives new ideas and helps you support your clients better. Here's an example using the Southwest Airlines why statement. Theirs is, we exist to connect people to what's important in their lives. Sounds nice, right? But, it looks like this in practice. Perhaps a pilot holds a plane for a man racing to a funeral because a gate agent made a judgment call. No manager, no policy, no approval chain, just a team that knew exactly why they come to work every day. That's the why impacting culture. Okay, so if mission and vision statements just sit on a shelf, where do the why statements show up? Well, there are a number of intangible ways, like I just mentioned, in terms of company culture, but there are also some very specific places, some very tangible places that they show up as well. First is the About Us content on your homepage. That's where people go to understand your qualifications, where they go to understand who you are and if you're trustworthy. And if you can infuse a sense of why into that message, they are much more likely to want to learn more. Second, scripts, video, content, any kind of content, you can weave that in very easily, and that brings some consistency to all your messaging, and it makes it more approachable. It makes it more accessible. It makes it more authentic. Third, hiring. As I've suggested before, if you are in a situation where you are hiring someone that you really want, having a compelling why is something that could really be powerful. Which company would you rather work for? This one? We do patient engagement software for mid-sized hospital systems, good product, strong retention, good margins. Or something like, before we get into the actual role, you should know that we built this company because we were watching patients leave opportunities confused and unsupported, and we knew we could do something about that. And then there's sales conversations. Let me read you a couple examples. So, first of all, if the why is something like changing our world starts with changing how we work, which is actually a why statement from one of our clients, a sales conversation could go something like, we've watched really good ideas die inside really well-intentioned organizations, and is almost always comes down to the same thing. The way they work isn't built for what they're trying to do. That's honestly why we got into this. So when we just look at your structure, your communications, your decision making, that's what's driving everything. Here's another example. The why is the most powerful moments happen when people genuinely connect. This is for an experiential marketing firm. What we found, and this shapes everything we do, the activations people remember are the ones where they stop scrolling in their head and for a minute, they actually connected with someone. So those are two powerful ways that are very authentic and very conversational and very compelling ways to bring in your why statement into a sales conversation. Hopefully, I've convinced you that the why statement is an integral part of your brand. And so the next question remains, how do we find yours? Well, here you go. When people go to put mission and vision statements together, one of the mistakes they make is they try to guess what the world wants them to say, what their customers want to hear. And that's backwards. It's got to be about what you want to accomplish, what you want to bring to the table. So, with that in mind, here are some questions for you to consider. What attracted you to this work in the first place? Now, if you just fell into it, like a number of people do, that's absolutely fine. Talk about what kept you in it. This is not a place where you make things up. This is not a place where you try to bullshit your way through something. You've got to be authentic. The next question is, what do you like about the process? When everything's going well, how do you feel? What is the joy or what is the excitement that comes through when you are working with a client and it's going particularly well? When you're finished working with a client, how do you feel? After it's all done, what kind of satisfaction do you feel? What kind of emotions are going through you? Where is there adrenaline? Think about where your head's at after a client engagement. And then, as I suggested before, what is the change you want to affect in the world? What is the change you want to see? And again, we're not talking necessarily about all of humankind. You could be, but it could be just the world in which your clients operate. So, what is the change you want to see in the world? Those are important questions to consider when you're trying to develop your why. Once you've answered those questions, the last question you need to ask yourself is, how do you complete this sentence? We believe our work is important because. And here you want to be as optimistic and positive and future forward as possible. It's got to have authenticity. It's got to have excitement. It's got to have confidence that you can do it, even if your goal is completely unattainable. The fact that you're there and want to try, that's what's important. So once you've answered that question, our work is important because now it's time to try it out. And I don't mean trying the words out specifically. I mean trying to integrate them in conversations you have with your colleagues. Here are some examples. As we kick off this new project, it's important to remember that our goal is to remove as much drudgery as possible for their team's day-to-day work. Since we're committed to starting and ending our work with people, it's better to just have a conversation on the phone with a client as opposed to just sending an email. All right, so that's it. Before I wrap up, I have a question for you in the comments. What is your first reaction to the question, why did you get into this work in the first place? Or why do you stay? I'd really like to know. All right, that's all for this episode. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends, and of course, stay on brand.